Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. I feel we need to talk about Ukraine. I feel Ukraine is an important country to think about now. Um, I think the things that happen in Ukraine now, they will make a difference for many of the countries near them. And it will make a difference in those countries. And when it makes a difference in those countries, then it makes a difference in the countries near them. And it's like the effect of a ripple when you throw something like a rock in the water and you see the effects come out in waves. I think I am very lucky to be in the position that I am in now, which is very modest. I am an American girl living on minimum wage, on the poverty line, and everything I have, it's beautiful, and I thank God for what I have, and I'm happy with that. The United States is important because it has a lot of um, the United States. It has um, it's very safe if for people to uh, make money in the United States, and um, it helps people gain power by making money here in the United States because it's so safe. There's a big safety for those people. Then it makes many people want to come over here and put their money here, and because it's very safe. Um, and so um, we have advantages here of the United States because of that. Um, the United States knows in the government and the senators and the House of Representatives, all of the congressmen and these politicians, um, they talk in the last 5 years very much about how China has been using economic warfare on the United States of America. And while we have big trade agreements with China, and we get so much of the things from our grocery shelves from China, everything, all kinds of things, not only food, but many products, because China it's has very many people. They say they have very, very, very many people, and this helps them become very productive and successful, making businesses, manufacturing. And the congressmen, they talked about China and how there was aggression economically, and that we were in a war with China economically. And this has been 5 years, and the congressmen have come again and again and sit in meetings and hearings to hear about these things. And even when there was a very big event that had such an effect on the economy named Corona. Uh, this is just more pressure and stress that China has put on the United States of America. And everything that was hidden that occurred during that time, um, like the director of the Federal Emergency Management Association, this like the disaster relief, people in the government, they said that we were waiting for protective masks and clothes to come for the hospitals. And we were told that it was on the airplanes, but these were ghost flights. They would show on the radar, but there was really no airplane there. And then China started buying up from the entire world market as much as it could of these protective equipment. And then there was a manufacturer based in the United States who the government was trying to get contracts from because this American government was trying to start um, emergency orders. And because of emergency orders from the government, they would take control of businesses during times of war, and they would, so they had the according to our our rights and our establishments that the government should have had the. It was a American company manufacturer. We should have been able to get those. We were told no. They were told no. These someone else is waiting for these, and it was China. And there are very many instances of small aggressions. Even the President Joe Biden said that last year, when there was a big winter ice storm in Texas, the cold front had pushed down so far that it had come into Texas and it had frozen it, which is a southern climate, and was not prepared for ice and cold. And the power grid was shut down. And so there was a lot of problems surrounding that. It brought down power to like 10 million people in Texas in the middle of an ice storm, half the state, like 15 million, half the state, and kept power down for a period of time. And there was disruptions of getting gas, and there was these things that would occur that were seemingly not connected. And the president blamed China, or not China, Russia. So Russia. Russia, um, a huge interaction between the United States and Russia is concerning Syria, probably the most aggressive area or theater of America and Russia in confrontation. And um, America has in every way positioned itself to be separated in its pursuits from those that Russia pursues. And because there are two different things competing for the same resources, it stays in a war. And this is the same true when the leader refuses to step down when a huge number of people ask him to. Well, why can't we just have someone else who then you have so many millions of people who don't agree with this? Just get someone else, because then you can at least these people will be willing to try again. The United States has talked about Russia in its Congress and with its politicians. In they've talked about Russia in terms of all of these disregard of other people and aggression and killing and oppression. And this has been a number of years now when things happen in the world, and the United States is deciding, you know, what options they have. Um, Talking about Russia and Vladimir Putin, it's very often um, in terms that he is evil and crazy. And that's a strong thing to say about any person, and especially when you are in a hearing of the government and representation in Congress, and you say these words about other leaders. It's very strong meanings in those, and the choice of words that they use are strong meaning words. Um, I think that the United States has suffered from China and Russia for a long time and taken losses and was afraid of creating even more instability and even more imbalance and not being able to control the situation if it gets very escalated. And the Chinese and Russians are going to do what they've always done and what they mean to do, which is what they've been doing. And so there is the pretext of war that certain alliances should not be made between Ukraine and other persons. But really, this is meaningless. It's meaningless. It doesn't mean anything. What does that mean? Why do you care? It's it's really about the wealth of the nations are the prize. The wealth of the nations are the prize, and that could only be the purpose and reasons for all of this. And so I think that all of the talk, it's not important. This is a long time coming, and you can understand what's going to happen in the future if maybe because you know that certain things, they come together and they make certain results. And that's the wonderful, beautiful thing about life. It's like chemistry. And that's, I would have to say, the all of the people of this world and everything that we have done, it's like chemistry. It's like our bodies. It's like biology. Biology is chemistry, and it's like life. And every soul in Ukraine, every soul in America, and every soul everywhere. This is all the result of all of our little souls. And there is some very black things happening in some places that are not happening in other places. And that is not fair. It's not justice, and it's not balanced. But the world and chemistry, it needs to balance. It needs that. And it will. It will balance. It has to. And that's what's going to happen, just like it always did. And although it's very dark now, and it's not very clear to see that meaning, the meaning of that all of everything is, all of our little souls are coming to bear now of everything. I will tell this important story. 2 weeks ago, I talked with my mother, And she told me, I asked her about my family history, which I knew. My great grandfather, Leo Berkman, was a soldier in Hitler's German army, and he was uh, sent to North Africa, to Libya in 1942 as part of the German army. And my great grandfather, my mother is German. My mother was born and raised in Nuremberg, Germany, and she immigrated to the United States when she was 18 years old to New York City. So she did marry an American. Her father's father is Leo Berkman. He was a painter. He painted beautiful oil paintings. And when he was drafted into the German army and sent to Libya to fight, he did acquire some paints, and he painted a portrait of his commander. And one day his commander said to him, "We have a big battle coming, and I fear we will not live. I will give you orders because I am the commander. I'll give you orders to send you back across the Ocean White, the Mediterranean Sea, to France and to Germany home. As my last wish, give this portrait you made to my wife." My grandfather in 1942 or 3 came across the Mediterranean Sea during World War II, and it was very dangerous on that sea at that time. And World War II was the time when a new technology came, the airplane. So my grandfather, my great grandfather came across and came back to Germany and delivered the portrait. He learned that his commander and all of his unit had died in the battle. And my great grandfather was redeployed to the front lines of France. And he there was an instructor for tanks. He was teaching the other men how to drive tanks, and then so he was near the front lines, but not all the way forward, and had some protection. When the Americans came into France, they captured my great grandfather, and he was kept as a prisoner of war for 2 years in an American prison camp. Again, my grandfather acquired paints, and he, after 2 years in imprisonment, he used some of the paint, and he painted on his chest, and then he pretended he was sick. And at that time, there was a great fear of the contagious pulmonary lung disease, and they did an X-ray and checked him, and they thought, "Oh, he must have this disease. Get him out of here and send him home." And he was sent home to Germany to die, but he was not really sick. And he came home to his wife and my grandfather, his son, who was 5 years old. And this story, my grandfather, he did not pass down this story to my mother. Instead, my great grandfather, he had died. When he died, my mother wrote to her grandmother and asked her, "Please, what did Leo tell you about the war? I would like to learn the history and write it." So then my great grandmother started writing my mother in German all of the story that she could remember and telling her. And now my mother has compiled a book, and for in honor and memory of my great grandfather Leo Berkman, who served in the Hitler's German army, and who in World War II, and who was able to come safely home. Thank God.